This is The Naked Life with Roxanne Noor. Hello, my dear people of the internet. Today, I really want to talk about nudity, and primarily, I want to demystify it. I want to create an understanding of the values that nudity encompasses because I feel it's seen in a sort of trivial manner. It's seen as often just the sexualization of the body. It's seen as something in America that just the gays do on gay nude beaches. It seems like it's something that's not really accessible for many people. And I think it's great to demystify it by looking outside of our own culture, by looking at history itself. So, one of the first values of nudity is the aspect of freedom. And from so many cultures in the world, I think Germans really understand this. So during the time of the Berlin Wall, East Germany was closed off. It was insulated from the world. The people on this side of the wall couldn't leave. So the people on the west side were able to travel freely. They had access to American shopping, music, vinyls, life. They got to travel, they got to see things. And the people on the east were closed off. So the east side had the Russian control, and it was pretty heavily isolated. There was not much. And so for a sense of liberation, there was a movement that started called the free body culture. And this started by bathing naked in lakes. So nudity was a symbol of inner freedom. They weren't allowed out of the premises of Eastern Germany. They were closed off from the rest of the world. They couldn't buy things. There were a lot of restriction, and simply just being naked, being in water gave a feeling of liberation. And this is really, really important. So free body culture in general, it also continued basically after the war. I'm quoting the New York Times here. The culture of FKK persisted after the war and became a means of escape from a repressive state. The journalist met an 86-year-old retired United Nations employee outside of Berlin who spoke of his youth in the wistful way people do when recalling periods of politically inflected happiness. He says, "We couldn't go to France and not to Italy, and so we went to the Baltic Sea or to a lake nearby Berlin and took all of our clothes off, and we were free." So one of the main aspects of nudity is the symbol of freedom. And what freedom means essentially is to be in a state of acceptance for who you are. And a body is such an integral part of that. And to accept, to be free, there is a type of lack of shame. So if I am able to walk into a space naked and own everything, own every stretch mark, own every hair, own every inch of skin, then this is something that symbolizes to me that I accept myself. And taking it further than that, going back to the historical reference about Berlin, it is a feeling of not having constraint. So a lot of the time when we wear clothing, especially for women, it's tight on our skin. It's morphing the body into some type of image. It's a part of consumer culture, clothing in general, fashion industry in general. And there's a freedom in saying that there is nothing more I need than this body. There's nothing more I need than this skin. And one of the main values of nudity is, outside of just freedom, is the voluntary simplicity in that. So I live my life as a world traveler. I've been traveling for over 5 years now. I've lived in many different countries, and a huge part of the way I travel is voluntary simplicity. So I am not buying clothing. I am wearing clothing when I'm forced to. So, for example, in cities, when I'm not integrated with nature, when I don't feel completely safe in an environment, obviously I won't get naked. But I've tried to structure my life in which I'm in a symbiotic relationship with the earth. And so a lot of the time I'm living on islands. A lot of the time I'm living in forests. A lot of the time I am integrated with the land. And I see this body as an extension of the land. And the way nature functions is in simplicity. It doesn't have the kind of complexity and ego that the mind has. So being in this state of voluntary simplicity of I don't need to buy clothing to perform anything. I'm not trying to show people who I am, what my class is, how rich I am through my clothing, how much I care about certain consumeristic values, because I don't. And so then there's the place of wanting to be naked because it is a reflection of simple values, of the fact that I am not going to go to a Zara and shop because it's not a part of the system of values I've created for myself. The system of values I've created is around simplicity, which is in itself counterculture. We are living within a structure that celebrates and rewards us for a rampant and unconscious consumerism. And nudity is the antidote to this. Nudity is the place in which we are comfortable with having less. And in it is a sense of freedom, because the less you need, the less you demand from life, the more free you are. So outside of this free body culture that's created, outside of this voluntary simplicity, there's also a desexualization of the body. When we look at issues that are very prevalent, especially for women, we look at things like rape or domestic abuse. Let's take India, my parents' country, as an example. India is a place where even often now in villages, people don't even shower naked. People shower with their clothing on, and they put water under their clothing because there's that much shame about the naked body. And it's all rooted to the way in which we perceive sexuality, the way in which we perceive women's place in society. And the more and more something is hidden. So in India, where the woman's body is really hidden, people are even wearing bikinis. Like when I see my Indian friends and we're on a beach, many of them wear big t-shirts. It's super common. They're not dancing around in bikinis. A huge reason for this is because of this aspect of shame and this kind of puritanical view of life and the body, which then not having access to it, not seeing it, makes this feeling in the human psyche of suppression. And then things like rape escalate. So, for example, when I'm in Spain or when I'm in Germany and I'm on the beach and women are topless everywhere, men are not even really giving a second look because it's so normal. And so to normalize the body, to have access to people who have different shapes and sizes and are comfortable being naked, it really is this kind of healing process. And the Germans really know that. They know it with things like going to sauna and having Aufguss. So in the sauna, one of my favorites in the world, which is Vibali in Berlin, I love the feeling of sitting in the sauna and watching all these naked bodies, watching a mom with her teenage daughter hanging out naked, speaking. I love seeing all of the different body shapes and sizes, the elderly people who don't have shame, the young people, the darker skinned people, the white people, and everyone just together for the state of healing and relaxation, being in heat, being in the sauna. and the way in which there's such a power in us getting together naked in a collective. And when we have that reinforcement that we're not weird, that we're not ugly, that it doesn't matter so much, there is a really deep healing and a really deep feeling of just acceptance for life. And so the primary values that I have seen through the years of being a nudist, of being in nudist collectives, is the fact that it is a form of voluntary simplicity, which is the antidote to capitalism. It is a fundamental in the aspect of freedom and a lack of consumerism, not needing so much from life. And it is a state of body positivity in just the aspect of gathering. And in this way, when we are naked, when we are in nature, we are more connected to the source that birthed us. So many of the times when I'm in cities, I have this feeling of displacement. I have this feeling of loneliness, of not being connected, and being naked, being barefoot, feeling the sun on my skin. All of it is this reminder that you are a part of the whole. Humans are an essential part of nature. We are not separate from it. And so all of these aspects create something that is not at all superficial. The premise of being a nudist itself is actually deep, and it has many origins of what people want the most out of life. And the more and more we see this, we see that what we really want is simple. We want to feel. We want to feel comfortable in our skin. We want to be in community. We want to be in nature, a part of nature, and nudity gives us access to all of this.